Hey everybody, now these are pictures from when I was about age 12 to 14. It was when I was in middle school. That is 6th grade to 8th grade. And that was right around the time I was just starting to get my pubes. Of course, that's always an exciting time in anybody's life, but for us it was exciting because we had just moved from the old trailer on Ed Swift Road over to the better trailer at 405 D Avenue. Now, before we moved to that new trailer, I had already started my taekwondo, so looks like I'd been there a couple of years, probably 8th grade, you know, testing blue belt to brown belt, right? So showing some forms there at the top, some sparring with Christina. And then kind of remember that being a pretty good time for our family, just being that it seemed like everything was getting better, you know. My parents had been working the same jobs for a while. My Dad was working at the convalescent center, and my mom was working on the Contour train. And so I would go over to the convalescent center and meet my dad, and so that familiarized me with that type of work setting. So he was a maintenance guy over there, but, you know, I'd go over there to wait to get a ride over to taekwondo, so that gave me a lot to think about, like, you know, maybe I should train for the rest of my life so I don't end up in the convalescent center. And also, me and my sister did get chances to go into town and ride along with my mom on the Contour train and learn a lot about Key West there. And so this was an exciting time, particularly moving into a better house, because it just seemed like the old house was pretty janky. And within a year, I think about a year after we moved out, it actually burned down. So we definitely felt saved by the bell, right? So here's the part to this trailer. By the way, it was only a 2-bedroom trailer. So my parents let us have the big room in the back so we could each have our own bed, and took the smaller room up the hall. And then we used the shed for our junk place. And so on the other side of the room would be the ferret cage. We've always had ferrets. And here is a near neighbor's peacock. I caught him because he wasn't feeling too good, so it's so nice being able to hold him and get a close-up look. Now, he did get better and run off. Now, I've always had Muscovy ducks, like you see that leaning tree behind me there. It was kind of nice to hang my kick bag from and stuff. Well, the Muscovies also really liked it because they could get up there and perch overnight and feel a little bit safer. Now, funny story. Went out of the house to go to school first thing in the morning, and you know, when you walk past the ducks, sometimes they'd get startled and poop, and well, I got nailed by that duck poop and had to go to school like that. So you might imagine as much trouble as I had to making friends and getting along with people. I remember that was a horrible time. Anyways, there's another memory over at that same house, having French toast in the morning. We would get up, me and my father, watch Pee-wee's Playhouse, and we would watch Hey Vern, it's Ernest. Anyways, and here, that was me having my 12th birthday. I didn't catch on at first when I was setting these pictures up because my hair kind of looks the same all the way through here. So, right, I've always had kind of my hair long. I learned how to French braid my own hair, by the way. So anyways, that's my grandma's big parrot, Lolita. It was an Amazon parrot. Not many people could handle. I'm pretty sure if I reached over to pet her, she'd probably... Actually, it was a boy that we thought was a girl all these years. It's kind of a funny thing. So that's why it was named Lolita. If I would have reached over to touch her, she'd probably bite my finger off. Now, before we moved over to that other house, my grandmother had her flatline experience, right? And the reason she survived that is my grandpa wanted them to keep her on the equipment. He really wanted to survive that so she could live to take care of him, right? Well, it worked out great. You know, he only lived a couple more years, but yes, she lived to take care of him. And so we had just moved into that new trailer when we lost my grandpa. You know, he was working in that Ford factory and smoking all those cigarettes. So he died at age 65 of emphysema. On the positive, he lived a good life. You know, he had a nice place to retire and had all those birds and everything, you know. So definitely pivotal time in our life. I had also lost my Grandma Weaver on my mom's side before we moved into that trailer. So we inherited her car and her parakeet, so it was nice having my own bird. Like I was saying, my parents had all these birds, and I wasn't really able to handle particularly the big ones. Then we moved over to the new house. We still had our black dog Sasquatch from Michigan and our gray fluffy tail cat, Ciro from Michigan, who was my dad's buddy. But since those animals had passed away, we acquired Sabrina. That was my dad's little buddy right there. So, you know, we would leave the window to the front window to the trailer open, and the cats could just run in and out all they wanted, so we never had to keep a cat box. We always did Halloween and all the holidays that involved candy or food. And so, of course, we watched all the scary movies. So my parents were a big fan of movies. And, you know, so I got to see all the popular movies. Like scary movies like Freddy Krueger, Jason, you know, The Shining. And then nicer ones like, you know, E.T. and all the Disney stuff, of course. You know, like I was saying, we went to Disney World, so that had to... I mean, we watched a lot of Disney movies. And then... So when my dad's friend Kelly and Sherry came down, it looks like me and my dad actually... we took everybody... parasailing, and we went out on the glass bottom boat. You know, my mom had connects because she was driving the contour train. Now, before Kelly and Sherry came down, my dad went out to Denver to visit Kelly. He was our good friend from Port Huron that was into music, and so there was like a little music scene for industrial music out there. And my dad went out there to see Psychic TV, so he got a chance to meet Genesis P-Orridge and meet his family and stuff. And then when he came back, he had their new stuff that sounded more like Acid House and all that. So that was an exciting time for me and my dad as far as listening to music, because, you know, he was getting into Wax Trax and all that kind of music. And, you know, before we moved into the new house, most of what we were listening to is stuff that he was able to keep track of since we left Port Huron. Now, there was a cool dude that ended up working there at our local record stores. Specs Records is where we would go, and he saw my dad buying some Cab Voltaire, so he did end up turning him onto Front 242 and a few other things. And we started listening to Bushido, which when my dad wrote to them, they told us about Frontline Assembly. So we were listening to those guys by the time we moved to the new house. And so, yeah, it was an exciting time for us. It just seemed like, because this music scene was like what we call post-industrial. That's like more eclectic, everything from sort of a rock sound to any like metal to more of an electronic dance sound. So I like more of the electronic dance sounding stuff. Anyways, I was getting more and more into my music, right? And so that's when I realized I do remember Billy from my visions as if he was a real person, because at that time we were living someplace where if I had to walk to the store or walk to my grandma's house, I'd be walking past that house where, you know, Rosie and Billy and them supposedly lived. So it would make me think about it. So that's Billy in real life behind me, right? So anyways, yeah, I was really into New Order a lot, for example, and my cousins were not interested. The friends I went to middle school with didn't think I had very good taste in music. In fact, I showed a few of my friends some of my music, and they were just like, oh my God, this is weird. You know, like they were just like, why don't you listen to normal music like we do, which would be like heavy metal and rap and all that. So definitely was thinking along the lines of, wouldn't it be nice to find my old boyfriend and start a band and all this type of thing. So it goes to show you, well, my sister, on the other hand, she seemed to have better luck making friends and getting along, because she was a little more conventional than me, and so she liked, like in the early 80s, heavy metal. When rap came out, she loved ballads, you know, like Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, all that type of thing. And so, like, she had a boyfriend when we were moving into that new house named Tony, and my dad used to laugh about how her and Tony would slip off for a quickie. And so as disgusted as he was knowing his daughter was having a sex life at such an early age, but so did I. You know, when I was 13 years old, I got introduced to this kid named Eric that wanted me to be his girlfriend. And that's funny, with Eric sitting there in the living room chatting with me, going, so, who's Psychic TV? Pointing to the big poster on the wall. And I'm like, yeah, it's my dad's music. And so, what's Psychic TV? Is that like folk music or something? Anyways, I was looking forward to getting old enough to have sex. And I figured since that's what boyfriends and girlfriends are supposed to do, we went back to my sister's room. And that's the first time I had sex with a boy where it was totally unpleasant, no hugs and kisses, and to top it all off, he laughed at me after the fact, kind of like most young girls experience, right? So it's kind of funny because I think my sister knew about that, but I'll bet my parents didn't know about that as much as they didn't like knowing my sister was going off with that white kid, Tony. Well, back in the day, it was quite popular to date black guys and Cuban guys. And so my sister and all her friends were getting into that, and that was definitely something she didn't want to get caught doing. So when my dad went out of town, she was knocked up by her boyfriend, and my dad went out of town, and so she had to run away from home because she didn't want to get her ass kicked, right? Well, she still got her ass kicked, and the other punishment that my grandma and my dad decided was we are going to disown my sister. So as you see, there are absolutely no pictures of my sister anywhere in my photo albums. That was the most unfortunate event that happened there at that house. Otherwise, that was like, I would say about 2 or 3 years we're talking about here at the house. That was pretty much a fun time until my sister had to run away from home. And the only positive thing about that is that then I would get the bedroom all to myself. Well, anyways, I'm living at that house. I can't really recall a lot of weird psychic experiences. You know, like for those few years anyways. I do remember going to the Navy base to see the Blue Angels and stuff, and trying to think what all went on in middle school there, like yeah, so that's basically middle school. So anyways, you guys, I can't think of much else to share about middle school at the moment, so I will end it right here, and I'll be back soon with another video. Hope you guys are enjoying. If you're watching this video, thank you for paying attention. I love you very much. Have a good day.